I'm still in my work clothes, but I am. Can we see? How much can we see here? To me, let me adjust this. More and less at the same time. Okay, hold on. Let's see if this works. Okay, maybe that. Okay. My energy is super high right now, so I wanted to do a reading. I have this energy. I love it. I love it. I don't want to get rid of it. I like it. I haven't done these decks yet either. I haven't done a reading in a couple days, so I think it'll be nice to do it. I want to use both of these decks. Yeah, I think I'm going to do these first, and then I'll use the Oracle for clarification. Neither of these decks have been used yet since I recalibrated them. The Oracle deck was interesting to recalibrate, but I did. So, okay, good energy. Angels, ancestors, guides. I'm going to shuffle these. Sorry, I'm going to shuffle these first, and then I'm going to shuffle them more, and then I'm going to actually shuffle them to pull cards. Angels, ancestors, guides, any energies or entities that are in this realm and higher realms and other realms that are working for my greatest good and highest power. I ask that you bring me specific messages that can benefit the collective right now. If there are specific messages for me that you can let me be able to discern what is what, be able to bring the right messages for those that need to hear them, whether through me or just through the cards. Thank you for everything, for the opportunities that are being given, for the capacity that you've shown me to be able to be grateful and excited for the future, regardless of the things that come up. Everything is part of this adventure. I'm very much looking forward to this year and the adventure that will be this year. It's already starting off so beautiful, and I know there's a lot. That this year's going to be wild. This year's going to be wild, and I'm very excited for it. Alright, thank you. Thank you for these messages. Okay. Got these two face down. Got, oh geez. These cards face up. Okay, have I got everything there? No. See, can you see this one? Can you see this one? Okay. So I have 5 cards that are face up, 2 cards that are face down. In order to make this line up, I guess I'm just going to do it. Like this. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So what I'm getting is that we'll start from the bottom up. That's how building works. And we're going to start with these. These are this one's being clarified by this one and this one. This one's being clarified by this one and this one. And then these two are going to be the clarifications for these. As we move into this level, this is going to end up being the, like, not transitionary, but the balancer between these two, and the energies of either side is going to be clarified by these 2 cards. I'm also getting that these 2 cards will be, this will be the giving, this will be the taking side, the giving receiving side. But starting down here, it's actually talking about past and present, or present and future, or past and future, whichever tends to resonate with you. Or maybe as we get into it, it'll resonate one way or the other. But if initially even me just saying that resonates with you some way, even if it doesn't make sense, stick with that and let it kind of work through that way for you. Okay. So we have the Hanged Man in reverse. The Hanged Man in reverse. So we could be talking about a lack of clarity or a lack of patience. Maybe a struggle just to be patient, a struggle to, like, maybe we felt like we were in the dark. Things were confusing. It's an interesting one because it's still the Hanged Man. So there was still this sense of things not being upright, of things not being sensible, or things not being right, things not being cohesive, things not being the way that they should be necessarily, but not really knowing what to do with that, and maybe just feeling generally uncertain in that space. That's being clarified by the Knight of Swords in the upright and the Nine of Swords in the reverse. So the Knight of Swords is like, despite this confusion, despite this uncertainty and lack of clarity, we were still moving forward with passion, still moving forward with a sense of positivity, still moving forward with, like, it's funny because in this, like, the knight looks extremely determined, but the horse itself, can you see these all right? Does it help to move the light at all? But the horse has this, I'll grab it. So in this card, the knight looks very determined, but this horse is kind of looking back at him. Like, are you sure? Are you sure about this? So it almost seemed like our modus of operandi, our means of moving forward might have been in question, or might have come with this tinge of doubt, but we were like, we're not thinking about that. You just trust me, and I'm trusting what I'm seeing in the future, and I'm moving towards that. And then, like, the clarification of the Nine of Swords in the reverse is that like, there might have been a space to feel a lack of confidence. There might have been a space to feel self-doubt, to feel anxiety, to feel, it's so funny because, like, I'll just speak in my personal experience right now, like, where I'm at in my life right now is that, like, the things that I'm choosing to move forward with, or that I've chosen to move forward with in this past, just before the new year, there was like a whole cloud of darkness over what to expect for the future. And there was a lot of energies that were, like, trying to come up against me to get me to feel some type of way. And I recognized that, but I did not let that get me down. I continued to charge forward, knowing with faith. I continued to charge forward with confidence. I continued to charge forward, knowing that in the midst of this uncertainty, there's still an enlightenment. In the midst of this uncertainty, I still could trust my spirit and was moving forward with that. And this card, specifically the Nine of Swords in the reverse, like, in the upright, like, there was an actual, like, this was me literally like 2 weeks ago, in one particular night. I was woken up with the distinct, like, it was an energy field that had come into my own, that was not good for me. And I remember, like, I didn't really even try to fight it. I recognized it and immediately sat up in bed and put my head in my hands like this, because I was, like, feeling it. Like, it was super, super heavy. And it was this feeling of, like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And my heart was like, just lay back down and just find yourself comfortable in this space. It'll be okay. But that just was not, it didn't matter. I knew that that wasn't the case. I knew that that wasn't even coming from me. I knew that although it was external disturbances that were leading me into being awakened this way and being like, no, I'm not comfortable here, I still knew to trust that. And it didn't make a lot of sense because what I was being offered at the time was a sense of security, which is this card in the reverse. However, I still knew that that wasn't because of this. Like, yes, this card is in reverse, but because it's still out here the way that it is, because I was still feeling these things, I just knew like that it's just not right. This isn't what's right for me. And I had to trust that. And it seemed at first like I had a lot of reasons to question that, but I continued to move forward. I continued to trust my own intuition, and it's led me into a space where the doors have opened, and I'm starting to see the abundance that was being spoken of, and I'm starting to see everything come to light, and I'm realizing why I was being told to wait, and it's an incredible blessing. And you know, although I do feel like I've finally come into a point where now I'm more in alignment than ever, and that things are happening very much at the specific time for me, I'm still getting this energy here of me being slightly in front of anyone who may be resonating with. There might be people that are right there with me, but generally speaking, the collective is like just behind. And like, this is just a reminder to trust your intuition, to trust these things. Even when there's uncertainty, even when there's a lack of clarity, even when there's all of this like brain fog, even when there's all of this like self-doubt, there's all of this external doubt, there's all of these crazy energies, like sift through, but don't even sift through them, like move through them, like don't let them affect you. They move out of your way. It seems intimidating at first, but when you go with this faith and when you go with this sense of confidence, like these things just move out of your way. And you're able to move into a space where you're like, nope, this is what I'm doing regardless. And it's being validated by the fact that there's a space of comfort here. This card is in reverse. So it's not, despite any of the self-doubt that there could be or any of the things that could be trying to keep you up, like they're not. You're getting what you need to get done. And it's with this energy. You got to lead with this energy, this Knight of Swords. And that is going to move us into a really good place here. But we're not going to look at that yet. We're going to move slightly. So now this is the current, or potentially the future if this is the current. This is my just recent past. So this is my current now, and we're moving into the future here. But for you, it may be that this is actually just that this is your current, that there's something even more in the past and that this is your current. And if that's the case, then this will be just in the future, and it'll be leading into ultimately what comes in the future even after that. And it's interesting, but as I say this, like I'm noticing that this year, like last year at the beginning of the year, I couldn't judge for shit. I had no idea what the year was going to hold, and it kind of seemed like a blur. Even looking back at last year now, I can see that still being the case. So it wasn't that I was off, it was just that last year like was kind of all over the place. But this year what I'm seeing is that those that have been doing a consistent work will start to see their rewards right away, and they're going to be moving into the next phase of their work, where those that are still called to that, but maybe haven't done the work yet, are going to be finishing up doing the work, tying up those loose ends now. And then later on in the year, they're going to start to see the rewards. And it's really going to be like this beautiful coming together of things that way, where those that have done the work prior, that were doing it all the last couple years, are building this sustenance for those that are coming up afterwards to kind of build off of. And then it'll kind of be more seamless, where those that have done the work, yes, we're moving into a new phase of work. It's not that the work is over, but when all of these other people start to come online, like online, spiritually, then those who have been doing the work will be able to like take this other position where like suddenly these things will start to be a lot more seamless. So it's kind of this whole thing of tying up loose ends, but some of us have already been doing this work consistently for some time. Some of us are just waking up to it. Have been doing it. Our energy has been there. Our hearts have been there, but we haven't really known what to do with it. We've been clouding. That's all being removed now. And we're moving into a space of knowing what to do, being able to do it. But yeah, as I'm speaking, so again, like I said, this could be past and this could be current, this could be current and this could be future. The Page of Wands in the reverse. In the upright, he has this sense of confidence in his skill. Even though he's only a page, he's actually lacking skill. So what I'm getting from this card being in the reverse is that this is like a keen awareness of self. This is a willingness to be humble and to really look at oneself and say, okay, I know that I don't have this and I don't have this. And now we're looking forward into how can I gain these skills? This is really a proper assessment of self. It's taking time to properly assess oneself, one's skills, and to consider what is needed in order to move into the future with more confidence, with more clarity. I'm also seeing this being more physical, where now we're getting into a more energetic, intellectual, emotional state. So like I said, there's a humility that comes here, and it's not like, oh, I have to humble myself and like putting yourself down and feeling some type of way. It's not having to limit yourself or having to close yourself off at all. It's just being willing to really see yourself as you are, which is always capable of learning, always having new things to learn, new things to grow with, and then being able to move forward that way. So that's moving into this capacity for the Page of Cups, which again is still just a page. However, when I used to see this card, I used to see it a different way, and I think that served for the time. But just recently, I saw a reading where somebody was talking about the Page of Cups, and we're talking about how it's, there's a fish in the cup because it's being able to give something tangible. So even though we're talking about kind of collecting one's emotions and intellect and skills in these ways and really just being able to assess oneself properly from where they're at, it's moving into that space of being able to be like, right, this is what I have, and now this is truly what I have to give. These are the tangible aspects of myself that I have to work with, that I have to move forward with. And again, that's being clarified by this Nine of Swords in the reverse, which is a sense of comfort, a sense of peace, a sense of being able to rest assured at night. Like, yes, I have these things. Yes, these are the things I'm actively working on. I think in the past, there's been, and as I'm struggling to say it because I'm getting like a frog in my throat, interesting, yeah, even in the past, I think that there's been this, this overthinking quality, this overwhelmingness of emotions, of considerations of things, of just looking forward and being like, oh, there's so much that still has to be done. And we're really getting to a point of being able to break these things down to a reasonable base. And even if you see the slight difference between the Page of Wands and the Page of Cups, and the fact that the Page of Wands here has, I don't know if you can see, it has pyramids behind them, and they're in the desert, and there's sand, where the Page of Cups has this flat, solid ground with the water behind. And it's something that's kept coming into readings recently, is not building your castle in the sand. And so it's like we've learned this foundation, and now we have a steady foundation to actually work off of. It isn't just raw ambition, which is great. I would never try to discourage anybody from having raw ambition. It's the best. It's great. It's the creative force It's that beginning spark of the creative force, right? But follow through is everything. The road to hell is paved with great intention, but that's the intention. It does not equal follow through, and that's why the road to hell is paved with intention. Is because it's paved with good intention. Good intention. Well, I meant to do the right thing. I set out to do the right thing. I had these great ideas. But ultimately, if you're not willing to really get down to the core of who you are, if you're not willing to really see yourself, you're going to keep adding toxicity into the things that you're trying to build. And you're going to keep building these castles in sand that eventually, when this water comes, will wash away. Now that we have a stable ground, we're not concerned about the water. In fact, it's okay. The water's right there. It's rising. It's very high. And we're completely satisfied because we know what it is that we have to offer. We know what it is that we're working with and what we can do with it. Again, we're finding ourselves with a sense of peace and security because we've done the work this way. And I just had a conversation with a friend in regards to a past relationship that they had. And this energy, I think, speaks very well of that. There was a lot. What I'm getting specifically is that, like, somebody who wants so badly to be a nice person, to be conceived as nice, to be perceived as nice, to be just, always friendly, always has the best intentions, always is like whatever. That's ultimately what it comes down to. If what your goal is to always have the best intentions, karma's still going to come around and it's still going to show you that those intentions don't truly mean shit because they don't have any follow through. And if you're not willing to embrace that and accept that, you're going to stay in this position of being inverted. You're going to stay in this position of feeling lost, feeling chaotic, not really understanding what's going on or why. You're going to constantly feel like a victim. And you're going to be a little overconfident about what it is that you're really bringing to the table. You're going to have this sense of arrogance that, like, I'm innocent, so it's fine. When, like, you cannot remain innocent doing the same thing over an extended period of time. If you have not matured, changed, developed, grown in the last 20 years, if you're still the same person that you were 20 years ago, you've wasted 20 years. Those that have continued to refuse to just humble themselves enough to say, you know what, maybe I'm not perfect. Maybe I am trying my hardest to be as nice as possible, to be as good as possible, to be the best lover, the best friend, the best daughter, the best son, the best whatever it is. And maybe I fall short sometimes. And maybe that's okay. Until you're willing to come to that with yourself and to understand that it doesn't matter how much you're actually trying to be the best. Because you are going to be falling short, because you are human, and there's just good intentions do not have the same follow through. It doesn't matter how well intended you are. If you aren't willing to actually engage with somebody in an empathetic way in order to understand where they're coming from and in order to give them what they really need from you, which is your whole person, not just the nice version of yourself and the shallow aspects of yourself that you like to offer, you aren't actually as nice or empathetic as you think that you're being. You aren't as genuine as you pretend to be. You're pretending at this point. Because genuineness, wholeness, the fullness of self incorporates all aspects of one's being. Not just the pleasant ones, not just the ones that are easy to swallow, not just the ones that everybody likes and likes to cater to and likes to have around. Every single one of us has aspects of ourselves that other people don't like. Plain and simple. Like, that's the reality of things. And if you're not willing to accept that, it doesn't matter how nice you're trying to be, how sweet you're trying to be, how nice everybody else thinks that you are. You're delusional. And it doesn't matter how many people you have buying into your delusion, it's not going to serve you in the end. You're going to end up, if you can't get past this point. You're not going to get past this point because you're going to keep meeting this and it's going to be in the upright. You're going to keep meeting the Nine of Swords and it's going to be keeping you up at night. Well, why is it that when I'm such a good person, everybody's still bad to me? Why is it that no matter how nice I am or how smart I am or how giving I am, people still aren't, like receiving me that way? Well, because you're not being genuine. That's it. You're not being genuine. Can you ride forward with confidence without those external validations? Do you know what it is that you have to offer, and are you standing on solid ground in order to offer these things? Are you willing to take these little steps, and have you been taking these little steps towards being able to offer the wholeness of yourself? Are you still convincing yourself that these shallow standards of being nice, being right, being smart, being good, being whatever the giving, being whatever these things are valid? Because ultimately, that's not even the best thing either. Like, being the most generous person all the time, there's a time and a place for all things. Being generous is not going to be the best option 100% of the time. Being compassionate and kind is not the best option 100% of the time. Always move forward with love. Always do all things with love, but love itself is not determined by kindness or compassion or the capacity to be able to empathize. Sometimes love is hard. Sometimes love is saying the true thing in as kind of a way as you can, sure, but speaking the truth, even if somebody doesn't want to hear it. Sometimes love is putting a boundary up. Sometimes love is not engaging. Sometimes love is discipline. Sometimes love is punishment. You can't say that you truly love your toddler when they keep putting their hand on a hot stove and you're too afraid to discipline them or punish them about that. You're letting them hurt themselves just because you don't want to be the bad guy. That's not love. So being kind, being giving, being generous, and all these different types of ways is not always going to be the best option. Let love speak for itself. Let love show you that it is something so much greater than these limited concepts we love to define it by. And then let that move you into a space of being willing to be humble, of being willing to sit in confusion, sit in uncertainty, and say, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. I can still move forward with faith. I'm okay. I can still move forward in confidence because I know what I have. I'm not going to let this keep me up at night. I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for myself. I'm not going to ask other people to feel bad for me. I'm going to do the things that need to be done in order to make things happen. You don't wish for a better life, you work for it. You don't wish for the good things that you want, you work for them. You can wish and want all that you want, but it's not going to get you anywhere unless you're willing to do the right work. And again, this goes back to other readings that I've had where it's about getting yourself into a proper alignment. You either have to date a different type of person or be a different type of person. You have to work a different type of job or you have to work a different type of way at your job. You have to, strive for different things, or you have to be willing to receive different things as you're striving so that these things can be properly cultivated in you. Staying in this mentality that the world is so bad and everything bad happens to me and I'm a victim and poor me, that is not going to serve you. And this year is going to show that to you really, really clearly if you haven't done the work yet to get to this point. And so many people are right at the threshold where they haven't fully gone through this process yet, but they've at least come to a point of being able to be like, you know what? Maybe I don't know what's going on. Maybe I don't always know what's best. Yes, I'm going to still try to keep myself up as much as possible, but maybe I have been the bad guy before. Maybe that person isn't really as bad as I always thought that they were. Those types of things go so much further than you may initially think that they are, because we're talking about energy transference. And when it comes to energy, it's not as definitive as these shallow standards would like us to believe that they are. That's the point of building the strong foundation. It's like I said in one of the last readings, where like when you're trying to build an actual stable building, it starts with digging a hole and then filling that hole with concrete. It starts with literally restabilizing the ground on which that space is built, which metaphorically, and when we're talking about like our emotions and our intellect and our relationships, it seems counterintuitive to dig a hole to try to build on something. Why do we have to get to the core of this issue? Why do I have to know every little tiny personal thing about you? Why do we have to keep engaged? Because that is where you build. That is how you build. You cannot build on that shallow ground and expect it to be lasting. Build on shallow ground all you want if what you want to be doing is living out of tents. You want a nomad lifestyle, that's fine. That's fine. Then you don't have to go to that core. You don't have to figure out how to actually change the system. So many people I know that live a nomad life, I am all here for it. I love it. All about it. But so many of those people still live off of the government. They're still receiving money every month from the government, and they live off of it. Like, they don't know what to do if their food stamps haven't come in. They have to ask other people for money. They don't know how to just go and sustainably work. Very few of the people that I know that say fuck the man and try to live a way that's off the grid are actually living sustainable lives. I only know a very small few that are actually living sustainably, and it took work. It took years of work, of humbling themselves and of figuring out, this is what it takes, this is what I have to do, this is how I establish myself. You have to do the core work. Otherwise, you're continuing just to build on shallow ground. And again, if you want to keep moving around all the time, that's fine. But then try not to act as if you're doing something deep. You know, try to at least acknowledge things for what they are, because that will end up serving you. That's what this is talking about. Is just being able to accept what you really have and what you're really bringing to the table and realizing what tangible things you have to offer. We're not making any excuses anymore. We're not embellishing on different things in order to be like, this is what I want to bring, but what I'm actually bringing is this. You know, it's great to be ambitious. It's absolutely great to be ambitious, and let those goals drive you into a space of security, into a space of breaking down to the core and then building on these skills so that you can really move forward. But yeah, don't lie to yourself. Don't stay in these delusions. You know, if there's something that's keeping you up at night, address it. Don't just keep trying to put these things behind with good intent. You know, good intent isn't going to serve us this year. And if you're not willing to do the work, like, you're not going to get away with it after the end of this year. Like, it really, really is coming down to the line. And so many people have continued to try to push it. And it's so unfortunate because so many of these people are good people. They're good people, but that doesn't mean that they need good things, that they're going to get good things, because they're not doing the work, you know. So there's something deeper being asked of us than just being a good person. Each and every one of us as an individual has a higher standard, has a higher power, and unless we are aligned with that highest power, we're still falling short of our own glory, of the glory of God, the glory of the collective power of creation, the collective power of sustainability. That's what we're moving into. So, you know, it's important to take these steps to move forward into that. I'm just going to switch these both at the same time. Okay, so we have the Ace of Wands in the upright and the Page of Swords in the upright. How interesting that we have the pages moving into this. And I'm going to start on this side too. This is our giving side, but it's so beautiful to see the pages that way. Because first we have the Page of Wands and it's in reverse, and it's a reminder of, like, even if you have these things, be careful as to how you're putting them out. Be careful as to how you're actually analyzing yourself and what you're believing that you're bringing to the table. Make sure that you're being accurate. Now we're actually bringing things to the table, and they're real tangible things. And they might be a little bit silly. They might not be fully exactly what we want, but we know what we're bringing, and we're bringing them. We have a stable foundation. We're confident. We're able to move forward. As we move forward, what we're seeing is that now we have, and this is just the beginning. Again, it's just a page. This is still just the beginning. Okay? Especially in what we're able to offer, what we're offering to the world. What I'm actually hoping to do in my education system, like in the ways that I try to teach people, is to get us all just onto one level foundation so that we can actually start to build. We have not started building the new world yet, but it is a new age. It is a new day. And the new world is upon us. All of the resources are being laid out for us. Now it's about getting all of the workers on the same page, getting them all together and getting them on the same page so that we know what we're doing as we're working. The foundations are already being laid. The hole was already dug. There's different parts that are still being dug, there's different parts that are still being filled, but as far as the new world is concerned, we're very, very close to being able to start building. And that's what we're moving into, is being able to start building, and to be able to start building in truth. The Page of Swords is very confident of their truth. They're very confident of themselves. No, they don't have an experience, like they don't have all of the experience. They don't have a long history of, a claim. They haven't been to war, but they may have, maybe this is even their first battle. Maybe they've engaged in other battles. Ultimately, though, they're starting off where they've got the wind blowing in their hair. They're standing confident. They're ready. They're ready for battle. They're ready for war. They're ready for whatever comes at them. And that is the space that we're all trying to get to. That's the space that we all need to be before we can really officially start building. And there's so many that are going to be part of this that are still kind of caught in this mentality of like, and it's coming, even this week, even right at this very moment, it's happening for people. People are waking up. People are coming to this assurance of self. People are starting to understand. They're moving away from fear. They're moving away from all those doubts. They're laying all of those things to rest, and they're moving forward. And this is, there's just this time period and this progression as we get people into this space of being able to be confident enough of themselves, enough to say, okay, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever adventure is coming to me. I'm ready for whatever happens. Anything that happens is part of this adventure. I had the opportunity to be able to receive those things as victimization, but I'm choosing not to be part of that. And I've moved far enough away from that. I mean, the victimization was all the way down here. It's something so past, so far past. It's in, like I said, this is like either just in the past and now in the current, or in the current and in the future. We're not talking about the things that happened back in childhood. We're not talking about the things that happened even like a couple years ago. Those things are so far behind us at this point. But so many people are still clinging to those things, still identifying themselves by those things. And I don't blame you. I'm not saying this with any sense of judgment. It took me years and years and years to be able to first recognize those issues, and then to work through them, and then to like be able to embrace them enough that I actually was able just to let them go. It took this whole process, and it took years, and I did go through it. So I'm not judging at all. But this is what we're moving towards, right? This is where we want to be. We want to be in a space of being able to be free, being able to be confident, being able to say, okay, what's next? Because I've got it. I know what I've got. And like, now we don't just have a fish in a cup. We have a sword. We know what we're doing with it, right? So the same thing, we have this confidence. And see, even here, like the Page of Swords, we're getting here emotionally. But even prior to getting here emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually, we've actually been given, like I said, the modus of operandi. We've been given these modes of transportation in the past, these actual modes of transportation to be able to move us forward. And we're able to look back now and see that these things have always been working in our favor. And these things have actually been leading us forward into where we should be. And there's a great sense of confidence revolving around those things. And that's moving into this Ace of Wands in the upright, which is the ultimate passion. And it's not this arrogant passion in the back of, oh, I have this skill and now let me show you how I'm using it. No, this is, I have the skill. I have the one skill that I need to create all things. I have the Ace of Wands. This wand is capable of, and it's so interesting, but here we have a castle and it's on a hill. It's not in the sand. It's sturdy. It's sturdy. And we know how to build this now. We know what we're doing, and we can build it. We can move forward into this. And it's because we have this assurance of self. That's what the Ace of Wands really is. The Ace of Swords would be like an assurance of truth, of knowledge, of information, of something tangible. The Ace of Cups would be in what we're able to give or what we're able to receive. And what else? The cups, swords, wands. Cups, swords, wands. What else? Why am I missing it? What is this? Why is my brain going totally blank? Cups. Swords. Wands. Pentacles. Jeez Louise. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. The Ace of Pentacles is talking about wealth. It's talking about abundance. It's talking about something extremely tangible in those regards as well. What we're talking about here, coming to the Ace of Wands, is we're just talking about the self-assurance. We're talking about becoming self-actualized. We're talking about being able to say, I know what I have. I know who I am. I know what I'm bringing to the table. I know what it means. I know what it's here for. And now we are able to start this process. We're able to start this process. Yes, it's a process. It was already a process just to get to this point. I understand. But this is where the process actually begins. I find it interesting because I follow a Gnosis page on Facebook. And there's a guy on there that's like always posting about his DNA. But it's very interesting because what he does by sharing his DNA, he took a special, it wasn't like a 23andMe, it was some other kind of very definitive test that went down into the history of prominent historical genealogies and how he fits into them, going all the way to like Melchizedek, right? Which is like, it's esoterically, like it's a very important aspect of DNA and genealogy when we're talking about it. If you can trace your lineage back to these very specific places and people. But what's so fascinating to me about when he posts these things is because his DNA, and he does have a very special DNA, and his DNA, just who he is in the code core of his person, he is able to educate about the history of how where we've been and how we've come. And it's all being coded within his DNA. And his DNA actually makes this alignment and shows all of these different movements throughout history. And what an incredible gift to be able to teach just by sharing your DNA, just by sharing the code of who you are as a person. Most of us aren't so privileged. But at the same time, it's really, in and of itself, is just a metaphor for what we do as much as what we do is a metaphor for that. He considers himself a little above others for the fact that he has this DNA. And that's fair to some degree, but ultimately we're talking about energy. Ultimately, that is a shallow concept. And he just as easily could be left behind clinging to that as anybody could be clinging to any shallow thing. Now, we're not talking about skin surface. We're talking about the code of who he is as a person. But truly who he is as a person goes even beyond himself and his ancestors and his lineage and whoever he has, if he has children, those types of things. Every individual shares a tiny fraction of that DNA. And that's just on the DNA level. There's also there's just so much more energetically. And that's really what it comes down to, again, is really knowing yourself. Now, there's a power to knowing himself the way that he has. And he's been blessed enough to be able to break down his DNA that way where, he can be like, no, this is important information. This is who I am. And what does he had said it a couple times as he posted it, or it was part of the link that said, I am that I am. It is what it is. And that's such a pure, such a pure way of being. It's the purest way of being. And I commend him on that. But I also don't want to encourage people to believe that just because their DNA is somehow not that, it's easy for him. But that doesn't mean that it's any less effective for us. I am that I am. It is what it is. To be able to embrace that fully, to be able to really truly say who we are, what we are, what we have, what we're capable of, where we're headed, is huge. It's huge, and it's everything. And so this is where we're moving forward into the future. That's what we're doing. That's what this year is about, is being able to cultivate our real selves, our genuine selves, not our most perfect selves, not our best selves, not our happiest selves, not our most pleasant selves, not the one everybody likes the most, our most popular selves, or our most successful selves. That's all in tandem, and that will come as it comes. But the ultimate concept of what's being talked about here is being able to truly embrace our fullest selves, our wholest, fullest selves, because there will be opportunities handed to us throughout this year and in the future for greatness beyond what we have ever conceived, what we have ever imagined prior. And in order to embrace those things, we need to know who we are so that we can embrace them. You won't even see them. You will not recognize them unless you come into the space of being able to fully recognize yourself first. Being able to recognize what you have. As long as you're convinced that what you deserve is somebody who mistreated you in the past, you're not going to be prepared to receive those that are truly meant for you, that are so much greater than anything you could have imagined back then. Right? So it's important. It's important for us to really get down to these basics in order to build up on ourselves. And I've said it too, like this, this year is going to do that for us whether we like it or not. But those that are in that spirit of receiving, those that are ready to receive that and willing to receive that, are going to find it being quite beneficial for them. It's definitely we're going to see some good things in the world. Some crazy things, some wild things, but it's good to embrace change. And it's great to embrace, the fullness of who we are and the greatness of who we are. There's just so much in the midst of, so many people have so much fear and so much trepidations about things and so many concerns and all of this, but there's something beautiful and grand happening on a beautiful and grand scale. Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Move into it. Watch what incredible things come. I wanted to do these cards, but the entire reading didn't request them. Which makes me feel like I still want to do them, but I'm not getting that I should right now. So we do have the sun on the bottom. If that helps anybody. But I'm just not getting anything from these yet. So maybe I'll do a read. Probably not tonight. I'll probably do it tomorrow. But yeah. Thanks for listening. I hope that this was good for you. I hope that this was helpful, beneficial, that there's a lot that you can take from it. And I'll keep trying to do the setup so that you can actually see the cards as they come out, because I do think that makes it helpful. And yep, that's what I got. Okay. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.